fair for government to get revenue. How many days must you advertise?
Protest that might not have passed through these areas.
The accusation by the staff of the Ghana Revenue Authority struck a chord with me. So on August 1, 2019, in a sting operation after the launch of Operation Collect, Name and Shame, a team from the Customs Staff Association and 2 other labor unions stormed the premises of La Bianca Company Limited to examine contents declared in the name of Ajax Company Limited and Whitestone Frozen Foods Limited. The objective was to verify the contents of 72 40-footer containers at their premises, following a tip-off that the companies involved have given false information to customs officials.
No, please, can you just come and put it here? No, this is full chicken. Full chicken. That's it. Full chicken. Whole chicken. Whole hen.
After hours of search, the team found out that the frozen food companies have concealed boxes of full chicken instead of sardinella fish they had stated on their declaration forms.
Excerpts of our latest investigative piece, Frozen Tax. The full documentary airs on all our social media platforms, also on the Joy News channel. But ahead of that, there have been reactions to this. We can start off with private legal practitioner Kweku Pencil, who is recommending the prosecution of culprits and recovering of funds to the state.
And I recommend that the Office of Special Prosecutor would reach out to a lot of these perpetrators of these acts for refund of the ill-gotten wealth. That's the way we put out the stolen money, if we may call it by its name, to the state. So I would say that the law as it stands, or the various laws as they stand, they are enough. They are sufficient enough. It's just how to put them into practice and actualize the real intent of the lawmakers. So that's the way I did for starters. I mean, and nothing stops the state, because I'm being honest with you, at the end of the day, in my honest view, is the recovery of all those funds. Of course, once in a while, the Office of Special Prosecutor may exercise to ensure that regardless of the money involved, some people will also face the criminal consequence of their conduct.
That's legal practitioner Kweku Pencil there. We've also heard from the Ghana Integrity Initiative. They've been making similar calls on the Economic and Organized Crime Office as well. But tax consultant Fred Awute is also recommending to the Commissioner of Customs to institute disciplinary actions against tax officers who facilitated this wrongdoing.
Tax evasion under the tax law is a very grievous offense. It's one of the highest offenses that we can see under the tax law. And the tax law has made a lot of provisions this act and over the liability, because the objective test is to ensure that the right duties are paid. In addition to that, the Commissioner General can also prosecute the taxpayer and also the tax officers. In addition, take administrative disciplinary actions against the tax officers.
That's Fred Awute there. He's a tax consultant there speaking on the Super Morning Show today. Let's stay on corruption and related matters, and we are digging into the Auditor General's report, and this time it cited the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, for causing a 500,000 of cedis financial loss to the state with the recruitment of unqualified personnel and placing them in higher ranks. There's more in this News Desk report.
The 2021 accounts of public boards and organizations noted that between 2019 and 2021, management of NADMO recruited some staff who were either without the required basic certificate or qualification, but were inappropriately placed at higher ranks, which resulted in an overpayment of salaries totaling 492,000 Ghana cedis to them. This, according to the Auditor General, contravenes Section 7 of the Public Financial Management Act, which requires that a spending officer of a covered entity shall ensure the regularity and proper use of money appropriated in the covered entity. The anomaly, according to the report, constitute a loss to the state which could have been used to employ more people to reduce unemployment. Management of NADMO, in a response, said the appointment letters were issued to the staff at NADMO head office which they did not have control over. The report also reveals that an employee of NADMO at the Mampon office in Ashanti region, Austin, Amwaben Edward, and 5 others who were granted an 18-month study leave with pay ending 23rd April 2019 to study in Netherlands failed to resume duty after the leave expired or communicated to management for an extension. Despite the failure to resume duty after a series of letters had been written to remind them, management validated and approved the payment of unearned salary amounting to 114.4 thousand Ghana cedis between the period of May to November 2019. The report directs the national coordinator of NADMO to ensure the money is paid back or he is surcharged.
That's the situation with NADMO. There's more from the Auditor General's report, and we know that yesterday we've been bringing you stories from Ghana's top 2 universities and how they are running unaccredited programs, up to about 700 of them at the diploma, postgraduate and undergraduate levels. And we're told that these authorities could face up to 15 to 20 years in prison for running these courses which have not been approved. So that's part of the latest Auditor General's report, and it cites the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. They have 61 out of 360 programs running unaccredited. Meanwhile, Ghana's premier university, the University of Ghana, has 374 out of its programs being unaccredited. So this is, we're told, is in clear violation of Section 36 of the Education Regulatory Bodies Act 2020. That's Act 1023. Thankfully, we've been joined on the phone by the Pro-Vice Chancellor of the university, Professor Gordon Awandare. We're grateful for your time here on the Midday News. So first, is it accurate that you're running 374 courses without accreditation?
Good afternoon, Emefa. No, I don't think that the number is that high, but it is true that there have been some lapses in the system in terms of keeping all the programs accredited or keeping their accreditation valid at all times. And this is something that has happened over a long period of time, over the years, where sometimes lapses in communication between the National Accreditation Board then and now GTEC, have led to some of these gaps. In fact, there are instances where courses have been accredited, but the certificates are sitting at GTEC, and the departments don't even know. And then vice versa, there are also cases where there are letters sitting within the university system where the department is supposed to address certain comments in order for the accreditation to go forward, and the accreditation hasn't taken place because the letter got mixed up in the system. So we have taken swift measures to try to straighten this situation.
Okay. Well, it's interesting that you are unable to tell me exactly how many of these courses you're running, because you're disputing a 374 figure that has been given by the Auditor General. Are you able to give us the exact figure in terms of the courses that you're running that are unaccredited?
No, not at this time. We are doing a comprehensive audit as we speak.
Okay.
From all the way from the department level. So all departments are providing us with all the programs they are running and the accreditation status. And we're going to submit this to GTEC so that we reconcile our information to make sure that we are dealing with the same programs that need to be addressed.
I've been looking at the list from GTEC on their website, for instance. I see that even medicine, political science PhD expired since 2013. I've seen medicine undergraduate also expired since 2019. Most of the PhD courses at the University of Ghana, I see, are also expired. So 125 of them I know you've applied, 36 expired. How is this the case that the premier university of Ghana have their courses expired?
Well, like I said, it's more complex than that. If you look under the hood, you find that some of these, they've applied for accreditation and the documents got missing, or the letter that was inviting them for a site visit got mixed up. So it's not as if nothing is going on and people are just sitting on their accreditation. So it's administrative lapses that have caused this. And I think this is you can see that this is a national problem. Almost every university, you have this situation. And I think we need to think about it in the broader context.
Administrative lapses on whose part? Administrative lapses on whose part?
On both sides. On both the GTech side and the university side.
Yet these courses are running.
If you realize that so many universities have the same problem, they realize that there's a systemic problem which needs to be addressed. Yeah.
What then happens to certificates that are issued as a result? Because these courses are still running in spite of the administrative lapses that you talk about.
Yeah, that's the point. That's why we are working with GTech to make sure that everything is streamlined and regularized.
How soon are we hoping for that to happen? Because I see some of them as far back as 2013.
Oh, as we speak, some have already been regularized because we've been working on this, since early this year. So several of them have been regularized already. Others are in the process. But we're doing a very thorough audit to make sure that every single program is in good standing.
What then does it say about our university system in this country?
Pardon?
What then does it say about our tertiary system in this country that if we have administrative lapses that can affect, accreditation of such courses, including medicine, for instance, what does it say about us?
Well, I think the reality is that the tertiary education space has grown exponentially over the last few years. And I think that the system is trying to cope with that. The accreditation system is trying to cope with that. Institutions are trying to cope with that. And it takes time to clean out the system and make everything, up to, regular status.
And you have an assurance for those who have been affected by this in terms of their certificates that they are holding?
Yeah, so we're working with GTech to come to an agreement on what to do for cases where there was a gap period where the accreditation was not valid. There are various options. Either the university would pay a fine for the accreditation to be backdated, just like you do for licenses that has expired and things like that. So there are various options that are being discussed to ensure that no student, suffers because of these issues.
Professor Godina-Wendere, we are grateful for your time. He is the Pro Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana. Well, still on the Auditor General's report, the Northern Electricity Department failed to collect over 1.2 billion cedis from power consumers as of December 2020. The Volta River Authority was also owed 4.7 billion cedis by the ECG, Valco and Gridco. Here's a news desk report.
The Auditor General said its review of NEDCO books revealed that a total amount of 1.2 billion cedis due from power customers as at 31st December 2020 had not been paid to the power distributor. This contravenes Section 91(1) of Public Financial Management Act. The Auditor General is recommending that the management of the company should intensify its efforts and improve its mechanism to recover the outstanding receivables. The Auditor General is asking the Energy Minister to also withdraw or suspend the emoluments of the members of the governing body of the public corporation, either jointly or severally. Management responded that a significant portion of the receivable balance of about 1.2 billion cedis is due from ministries, departments, and agencies.
Meanwhile, Manager of Corporate Operations at NEDCO, Maxwell Kutuka, said they've commenced installing prepaid meters at some ministries, departments and agencies as part of efforts to recover the monies owed.
The policy we have received to migrate the non-core ones onto prepayment metering systems. So that is also helping in a way.
And when is this starting?
It's ongoing. Some regional coordinating councils and so on have been migrated onto prepayment system, and it's ongoing. Except that there are amongst the MGAs, there are those that we consider to be core critical and those that are less critical. So we are advised accordingly as.
That's Maxwell Kotoka. He's manager of corporate affairs at NEDCO. Let's turn our attention to health and also have a court now, because the health minister, Kweku Agyeman-Manu, has admitted that the government of Ghana failed to send its officials to inspect ambulances it was procuring before they were shipped to Ghana. This procurement took place under the John Mahama-led administration. The minister is the Attorney General's fourth witness in a case in which former Deputy Finance Minister Dr. Ato Forsing and two others are accused of causing financial loss to the state in the purchase of these vehicles. 30 ambulances received by the government from supplier Big C Trading Company Limited have been described by the Auditor General, the Attorney General, I beg your pardon, as defective and not fit for purpose. Court correspondent Joseph Akable joins us with details of this case. Joseph, how important was this inspection to the ambulance contract from the testimony of the minister?
So Mr. Agyeman-Manu argues that pre-shipping inspection was the only way the government of Ghana could ensure that the ambulances that were coming into the country were fit for purpose, in that they were of the make of an ambulance and also had the necessary medical equipment that was needed. But he says once that inspection was not done, it meant that the inspection had to be done when the vehicles arrived in the country, at which point it was realized that they were simply not fit for purpose.
Well, we understand the government, however, entered into an agreement with the supplier to fix the defects after the vehicles arrived.
Yes, we are told that the agreement was made, and even beyond that, also some medical equipment were brought into the country that were supposed to be cleared by the ministry. The minister disagreed with Dr. Forsing's lawyers on which entity was supposed to clear those medical equipment to do the fixing. But Mr. Manu insisted that fixing or any correction should have been done outside the country before the shipping and not when the vehicles got into the country, which was why he still insisted that the inspection was very necessary.
So from what we know, did government perform all its obligations under the agreement?
No, the minister actually admitted that in terms of establishing the letters of credit which were to form the base of the payments, they were not done within the 120 days after the signing of the contract, as was required by the agreement. And so that is one admission that the minister made in the course of the testimony as well.
Court correspondent Joseph Akable there with details. There's more of that on myjoyonline.com. There's time for a quick breather here on the Midday News. Live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra, and Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM and over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. We are live on Facebook, the myjoyonline.com app, as well as Spotify. We've been talking about the growing calls on the Office of the Special Prosecutor and the Economic and Organized Crime Office to investigate and prosecute companies found to have falsified imports, leading to revenue loss of 4.6 million cedis to the state. When we return, we have sport, and then in our Living Standard series, we hear from two pensioners struggling to survive the harsh economic conditions.
Oh, in fact, pensioners are done you. Now, bank is not taking care of us.
We, the pensioner, I don't know someone's pay. I just want to tell the government to give us something.
Thanks for sticking with us here on the Midday News. Let's do sports. Musbao, what do we have?
It's summer transfer deadline day, and the Joy Sports team is on hand with another edition of the transfer countdown tonight on Joy News and Joy Prime. We zero in on the activities surrounding the Ghanaian players ahead of the World Cup. We already know Mohamed Kudus skipped Ayaz training in order to force a move to Everton. Gideon Mensah and Usman Bukhari have completed moves to Alger and Red Star Belgrade, while Felix Afenyajan wrapped up a permanent transfer to Cremonese from AS Roma. We can now hear from assistant Black Stars coach George Watson, who is a guest on the transfer countdown and is happy with Jan's move.
I think the latest one that has just happened as we are speaking is Felix going, of course, leaving AS Roma. Is it Cremonese? Yes, where he's gone to, which is good because I think for a young player like him, it's important to keep developing, and the only way you would develop is to play games. Training won't give you that. So it's a very good move from Felix to do that, and hopefully we'll get to see the best of him prior to the World Cup.
So that's the assistant Black Stars coach there, George Boateng. So Emefa, tonight, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. On Joy Prime and Joy News, we'll be counting down on the transfer deadline day.
Who should we be looking out for?
I mean, Gideon Mensah has moved to the left back, Ghana's left back. Felix Afenya-Jan, who is becoming the darling boy of Ghana football, he's moved to Cremonese. And pretty interesting is Mohamed Kudus, because he's trying to force a move away from Ayaz. And Ayaz are insisting they are not going to let him go. But he wants to go to Everton. And the transfer deadline day is today. So if Ayaz does not accept it, then he's likely to stay at Ayaz. And he did so well. It just happens that this season he's played just about 30 minutes. Not impressive. And the player wants to play well at the World Cup. So
we'll catch the countdown.
Yeah.
If I leave you give it all away. Thank you very much, Ms. Brown. Let's do our Living Standard series now. And Abraham and Vida are both pensioners, relying mainly on the benevolence of loved ones to survive the tough Ghanaian economy. With less than 1,000 cedi monthly stipend, they are calling on the government to do more to support pensioners. Mamiesi Nyameche Thompson engaged them for this edition of the Living Standard series.
Oh, in fact, pensioners are dying. Now, bank is not taking care of us. They feel if you go to Senate and Senate give you your salary or something, that is all.
We, the pensioner, I don't know someone's pay, but we, those who are under this, I just want to tell the government to give us something.
Madam, what is this?
28.
What is this?
58.
This 28 plus 30 is 58.
Yes.
This 58 plus 30 is 88. Banker.
Oh, okay.
So it has been happening before.
I see.
And over here too, I won.
Being schooled in lotto staking by pensioner was one of the highlights of my day at Ablekuma Extension. Abraham, now 70, was introduced to the lotto business by his friend when he retired from public service 10 years ago. The game keeps him busy.
You see, I will tell you the fact. If I'm able to stake 100 Ghana, my own inside the 100 Ghana is 30%.
Which is how much?
30 Ghana.
Okay.
So if I'm able to sell 200, I will get 60 Ghana.
Okay. Is it by day or by week?
Oh, daily.
Daily.
If you can't sell anything, you don't get anything.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because we have agents. You go and pay to them, pay them everything. Because if you had a win, they are responsible for payment of the win.
Before he retired in 2012, Abraham was an auditor with the New Times Corporation. His work took him around the country and sometimes foreign nations too. According to him, those were some of his best years. But after 20 years of service, his pension is nothing he had pictured it to be.
That's our Living Standard series for today. Now, the Office of the Chief of Staff at the Office of the President is best placed to respond to queries about the monies released for the construction of the National Cathedral. That's according to the Finance Ministry, which has told Joy News to redirect its request for information on the amount of money it has released for the building of the National Cathedral. Head of our research desk, Raymond Nakwa, joins me in studio with more on this because they wrote that letter to the Office of the Chief of Staff. What really necessitated that letter?
So we were told some time ago that we had actually spent some 25 million in the year 2020 on this project. Then in 2022, the finance minister said we actually spent some additional $25 million too. So when you put them together, and perhaps the latest development coming out of the Aegis report of 142 million being spent, there are key questions about how much government has agreed to give the project, how much we budget for each of these years, and how much we actually release to them. And for how long are we going to do this? The definition of what seed money, the percentage that it constitutes of the entire project, is also part of the questions that we are interested in. So we sum them up. Yeah.
And the Finance Ministry has been responding to us.
Yes, they actually told us that even though, according to them, they are in the position to give us the information, there's a part of the RTI law which allows you to transfer a request to an institution that's better placed or closely related to what we are asking for. So what you're saying is that the office of the chief of staff under the office of the president is in a better place to tell us how much government has budgeted for it, how much the finance minister has released to it, than they in the finance ministry.
That office is expecting your letter, I suppose. But let's talk about the National Cathedral Secretariat.
Yes.
You wrote to them as well. Did we get any response from them?
They are yet to respond.
Okay. That's Raymond Nakwa, head of our research desk there, in charge of writing RTI letters, and he'll bring us more subsequently. Now, if you have experienced a state of complete body immobility whilst you were widely awake, causing you to be extremely anxious and depressed, it is not spiritual. Doctors say you are merely having sleep paralysis. Sleep specialist at the Brain and Mind Center at Abokobi, Dr. Yao Infojo, talks about the stages of sleep. More in the following report by Jesse Boafo, read to you.
Sleep paralysis is a transient inability to move or speak while falling asleep or upon waking up. Stress, inadequate and inconsistent sleep patterns, and certain medications have been identified as possible causes. The general lack of knowledge about the experience, however, is causing some people to resort to unorthodox means of treatment. Others also attribute it to spiritual machinations. Here are some views from parts of Accra.
You are asleep and you feel like waking up, but you can't wake up. You can't even move your body.
Someone was following me like a monster in a black. Use the word Jesus Christ on the person.
Doctors, however, explain that there's no cause for alarm. Dr. Yao Infojo is a sleep specialist at the Brain and Mind Center at Abok.
In the rapid eye movement sleep, you have a couple of things that happen. 1, dreaming. 2, rapid eye movement. 3, for males, erections. 4, the brain is all over the place, including active dreaming. 5, muscle diaphragm movement. 6, complete paralysis of all the other external muscles. It is part of the rapid eye movement stage of sleep.
So it's not a spiritual thing you're experiencing. It has medical, terms for it. And that's how we end today's edition of the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Frozen tax, Joy News investigation exposes fraudulent frozen food companies at the port. We also should have a broader conversation on free SHS. That's according to President Akufo-Addo. Also, government failed to inspect ambulances before they were shipped to Ghana. Health Minister admits that and more on myjoyonline.com. We have Living Word with Pastor Mensel Tobel up next. I am Emefa. Apawu, many thanks for your company.
Thought you've seen it all. You must have thought you've watched it all. Gomorrah is a new exciting series about the conflict that rises between the wealthy and the poor. Watch Gomorrah.